Hey guys, today we're just going to start the new video series on C. So I've gotten VS Code set up already, so hopefully you guys have set it up. If you don't have it set up, you'll have to go to the Visual Studio website, click on C/C++, and then go to that page. Then you should see some instructions on how to install min.gw. So you have to install min.gw. Hopefully you guys can get through that, and then you'll have to copy the path and add it to system environment variables, and then you have to install some extensions. Install this C/C++ extension pack, and I'll just click it to show you. So it's this one. Install that, and then click on install Code Runner 2. Okay, I guess my network's not on right now, but if you type in Code Runner, here you go, it's right there. So this one, install that, and then restart everything, and it should work. So we'll just start with some file copying stuff. So we'll start by the include statement. So we'll include stdio.h. And then we'll just we'll type our main function here. Open some parentheses or some square brackets, and then we'll create a variable named int c. So it's a variable named c of type int. So int can store whole numbers. So here we'll say c points to getchar or getchar with parentheses and a semicolon. So we're saying, okay, c points to getchar. So what does getchar do? Getchar takes standard input from std standard input. I believe that's what it's called, but it's going to take input from your keyboard in, for example, a terminal at the bottom. So in the terminal we can type something, and then let's say we type like that, FL0AT, then C is going to now point to the input that we type. But C is an int, so then this will just be instead of a string, we can type a number like this, like 1. So we'll do that in a sec. So then we're gonna put a loop here. So while C is not equal to EOF. So what's EOF? So EOF is end of file. So end of file can be signaled with Control plus Z on, I think, on Windows. The commands might be different for Linux and Mac. It might be like Command or Option plus D for Mac. You can test it out. You should be able to find some information on it on the Visual Studio website. So hopefully you guys can get that. So just signal EOF, how to signal, just type in Google if you're struggling with that, how to signal EOF on whatever machine you have. In Visual Studio, it should tell you that. So I think it's usually Control plus Z or something like that. So what EOF is really, it's just end of the input, end of the file input. So we'll talk about that more after. We're going to see it a lot for now. So then here we'll say putchar. See, so putchar is going to do is it's going to display that in the standard output, so you should be able to see the what we typed into getchar here was saved to C, and now we're printing out what C was. We should see that in the terminal. So we're now printing the data that we saved earlier. Then again, we're going to say C points to getchar. And that's it. So you guys shouldn't be too hard. So we'll just to run it, you have to hit Control S, so save it first, and then run. We'll debug it too. So we'll just run it first to make sure that it worked. Oh, whoops, click on terminal, okay. So here I'll just type like 1. Then here return to 1. Return 1 to us again, and it's just going to continue to loop. So whatever we type in, it's just continually looping and printing it out to us. So we'll just we'll stop here. We'll close that, and then we'll set a breakpoint here. Maybe there. I don't think it picks up these ones here. So these are local variables. So let's just say that C is a local variable. Global variables would go here, which we don't have any. We'll use some later. So we'll just delete that for now. Then we'll just Control S. Then I'm going to debug the C/C++ file. Click that. Click that debugger thing here on the side with the bug icon. So we can see that it says we have our variable C, which the breakpoint didn't stop there. It's local, it's telling us here. I think for some reason in C it doesn't really show us global variables in the debugger. I'm not sure if that's just for VS Code. C-line doesn't allow, so C-line is IntelliJ software, like, sorry, it's the software that made IntelliJ, and it was used to create Android Studio, but they don't, you can't put commands like Control Z, it doesn't work, so then these codes wouldn't work, so I kind of just use VS Code instead. But it doesn't tell us any global variables, it only tells us local variables. So sometimes you might have to like keep a note of them somewhere else. So anyways, we have C points, so we have our int C here. It's telling us C points to 0. Now we're at this line C points to getchar, so I'm going to step into this this line here. Is that the right? Whoops. Okay, there we go. So click terminal. Then we're just gonna put like 1, 2. Enter. So the way getchar works. So now we said C points to getchar. Now the execution has moved to the next line. So what happened was C points to getchar. So C points to the. It actually points to the first. So why does it say 49 here? It says 49 here because we have 1. So on the ASCII character set, so you can Google that. ASCII, you're probably going to need it. So Google the ASCII character set, and you'll be able to see in the decimal column, look for 1, and you'll see that 1 has a value of 49. So what it does, it just takes each character one at a time. So getchar takes each character one at a time, and it sets C to point to that. So right now we have the first standard input, which is 1. Then now we're at the loop, so while C does not equal to end of file, so it's not end of file because we haven't typed in control plus Z here. Like if I want to, I can type in, if I wanted to earlier, I could have typed it in, but nothing's there right now. So right now C does not equal end of file. So it says while C does not equal to end of file, which is true, because it's going to test if it's true or false. So the condition test if it's true or false. Whoops. I think my keyboard's in another language right now. So true or false. So it's going to this condition tests if it's true or false. So in C, I think true is 1, and it can also be 1, and false can be 0. So while C does not equal EOF, so right now C points to 1. So it's not EOF, so that's true, so it's going to enter the loop. Then we're going to say, okay, we'll putchar. I'm going to pass in C as a parameter. So C will get printed to our screen here. See, so C1, which was pointing to, so C was pointing to 1, and now it's been printed. And now it's saying, okay, well C is now going to get the next input that we have saved from earlier on. So we'll step in, and you can see that it collected 2 before it moved back up to the loop, because the loop ended, went to the bottom bracket, came back up here, right, so it was here, and went up like this, up here, back up here. Now we have 2. C is, if you look at the ASCII table again, look for the decimal number 2. So there'll be some hex code on there, some binary, maybe some octal codes. So look in the DEC column, then go to the decimal that is 50. Then you'll see that 2 should be 50. So now it's going to see while C, which points to 2, does not equal to end of file, which is true because it's not EOF. So it's going to enter the loop again. Then we're going to print it out to the screen again. And now it's going to take C points to getchar. So what happens after that? So after that, there's a new line. So it's going to be at this point, it's at, whoops, something's wrong with my keyboard. Okay. So it's going to be like this, without the quotations, just like this, right? But to signal it, it's gonna be like this. It's gonna be a new line. Pretend the quotes aren't there, right? So then, now let me just take the quotes out. So what really we had in standard input was 1, 2, and new line. So we did 1, we did 2. Now it's going to, it's going to collect the new line. So collect it. Now it's loop back up here to the while loop. It's going to test while C does not equal to EOF. So if you look on the ASCII character set, go to the decimal 10, and you'll see something like this, which means new line. So there's an actual number for it, which is different than the Unicode one, the Unicode character set that we looked at before, which some other languages use. So this is like I think this is like the oldest one. So it only supports, like, I think it only supports English, I might be wrong. And like some symbols and numbers. And not all symbols. But it'll say that new line if you look on the decimal 10 decimal section, or the decimal column, go down to 10. Then if you look on the right side, it should say new line, or new line feed. So now we're here. So while C does not equal EOF, that's going to be true. Now it's going to print a new line here. You don't see the new line being printed. So now we're at C points to getchar. So at the end, I think I might have pressed it twice. Let me just go back there. So I'll just double check I have it correct. So main int C points to getchar while C does not equal to EOF. Putchar pass in C as a parameter, C points to getchar. I think, yeah, that might have caused a problem there. Okay, let's just stop that. Yeah, that didn't have quotes on there. Did that cause an error? What is that? Okay, so you have to control S after you make a change to save it. Then we'll just debug that again. Whoops. So then we'll just type in, whoops, you have to step in here. We'll just pass in the same things, hit enter. Then we'll just skip to the second part. So we have new line, putchar, getchar. So it's waiting now, right? So that's where we should be. So now, if we try to continue, it's not letting us. So now if we, to exit this loop, because if we keep typing something in, like, type the same thing in, it's just going to do the exact same thing. And where it's going to bring us to the same spot, it's going to do the exact same thing that we just did. So now we're going to hit Control Z, enter. It's EOF, it has a value of -1. That's not on the ASCII table, just remember that. So it's going to check, well, while C does not equal to EOF, so we did signal EOF with Control plus Z. That's what it looks like when you type it in. And hit enter, so it's a command. So C kind of works more with the command prompt and Unix system, so we'll be going into more commands later on. So now it is equal to EOF, so while C does not equal to EOF, so that's false now. So the loop was skipped because it was false. While C does not equal to EOF, well, it does, so that condition's false, so it skipped. So hopefully you guys understand. And then that was it. The program's done. So hopefully you guys got that one. It's not that hard. A couple new concepts like EOF and some special methods that are special to C. Getchar and putchar, so you will be using those more often. So we'll do a few more. So there's a few variations of this, so we'll just go to the next variation. So we'll just delete all this. We'll start again. We'll say include with the number sign. Angular bracket stdio.h. Type our main function here. So we'll create another variable named c again, int c. So it's going to take a number. It's like a whole number, so int can be 1.0 or something like, no decimal, so like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to assume that you guys know, you have some experience, so hopefully if you don't, actually, well, yeah, I'm assuming you do, but if you don't, hopefully I'm explaining in a way that that if it's new to a new concept, you understand. So this is just our include statement to include this header file. So .h is a header file. This is like a standard header file for C. So it has some like functions and stuff we can use. This is our main function, so we have a main function here. We can say that it's void and then it returns nothing. We have to include some parentheses here so there's no parameters, so we leave it empty. We open these square brackets for our code, so that's all in this. This is all one function. These are comments, so it doesn't affect the code. It's just we can just write some like English statements to help the reader of the code to understand it. So here we'll just say while c points to getchar does not equal EOF. So while c does not. So sorry. While c points to getchar does not equal EOF, then here we'll say putchar, pass in c as a parameter. Then this bracket at the bottom is our closing statement. So just save that. So what's happening here? So we just have a variable again here, c. Then we're having a while loop here. We could put this in brackets here like this. Whoops. But we didn't. So you may need to practice without the brackets because sometimes it can get confusing too. So we'll just do without brackets for now. So we'll say while c points at getchar, so we're going to have to, that's going to execute first. So while c points at getchar, so it's going to get standard input. We're going to input some data. C is now going to point to that data that we just inputted. It's going to check if that does not equal to EOF. If that's true and it doesn't equal to EOF, then it's going to print the data to the screen in the terminal. So it's similar to what we just did. It's pretty much, it's exactly the same thing, it's just we're doing everything in the condition. It's a little advanced, it's like the statement itself. So hopefully I'll help you understand. So we'll just put a breakpoint here, save it, and then just debug that. This statement here is kind of tricky because we have to get this data first before we can compare it to EOF. So we have at this statement here, while we're at the while loop, integer gets automatically set to 0, so we have c points to 0 here. That's our local variable again. Then we're now at the while loop, while c points to getchar, so we're going to step in. And it's going to wait for standard input here in the terminal, so we'll just do 1, 2 again. So it's going to collect 1 first. So it wasn't EOF, so it continued into the loop. Because 1 does not equal to EOF, right? and 1 on the ASCII table is equal to the decimal value of 49. So since that's true, it's going to put char, which is it's going to print it out to the screen, to the terminal. So we'll step in. Oops. There we go. I think it kind of glitched for a sec. Did it glitch? Okay. Okay, yeah, so this is a loop, so it bounced back up here, so once it printed out, it should have bounced back up here. So it's going to check while C does not equal to, while C points to getchar. So we already, yeah, so we're up here. Let me just, that should be fine. So it's while C does not point to, while C points to getchar. So now C points to 50, which is the value 2, right? So while 2 does not equal to EOF, which is true. So now we're back here, putchar, pass in C as a parameter, so that it's going to print out to the terminal 2. Then it's going to be, I think something's glitched here. Might be from a space or two that we added and deleted. So let's just actually just stop that for a sec, save that, and run it again in the debugger. So we'll just skip to the second part. So we'll enter 1, 2, print it. Okay, might be a little glitch. So now we have 2. So it's here 2. It's going to check if it was equal to, so it's going to take C points to getchar, it's going to collect 2, and if it doesn't equal EOF, it's going to display it to the screen. I should have actually printed it out right after that. I'm not sure why I was going to the end bracket first. That's okay. So now we have new line, because remember at the end of our input, there's an imaginary new line there. So we should print a new line. See how it moved from the end of the 2 to a new line? And it should be looking to collect data again. So I think something glitched here, maybe it might be internally in VS Code. The brackets might help. Is there some kind? Oh, you know what? I think there's an extra bracket here. Let's just stop that. That's why. Still like that. Save it. Include stdio.h main. Just take this out. And see while, so 2 parentheses here. Then 3 parentheses here. Then 1 on the end. 2 there, and then the bracket at the end. So it should be fine. So we'll just try it again. There we go, now it's looping through there. Okay. So now we have a new line. It's going to check, print the new line. Then here we have take input again. We can just repeat 1, 2, and it's going to do the same thing. And it's going to keep doing this to infinity until we enter the command EOF, which is Control Z, press enter. Then now it's going to end. So the program now terminates. So hopefully you guys understand. So now we'll just do, we'll introduce some of the format modifiers. So the string modifiers, we'll have to put them in the quotes. So we'll just do an example here. or just for the variable modifiers. So we'll just leave our include statement up here. So just the same main function again. We'll say long nc. So what's long? Long is an integer as well. Like that. It can be 1, 2, or 3. So what it's not is it's not like a decimal, like 1.0, 2.0, 2.133. That's what it's not. So it's a number, and it's a whole number. So I believe it's the binary, the bit size. It can hold a big number. So we might talk about some binary stuff later. So here we'll say nc points to 0. So then we'll say while getchar, while getchar point does not equal to EOF, we'll say plus nc, which is going to increment nc by 1 or add 1 to 0. Then here we'll say printf. So this is where we put our modifier. For the format modifier, so we'll say percent. We'll use a percent symbol. We'll say LD for long decimal. We'll do a new line, /n, \n, in the quotation, then comma, NC. So this format modifier is going to be correlated with this NC. So it's saying, okay, we'll print NC and it's a long decimal, so we need that. It's not a string, so it's not a %s. It's not a float, so it's not a %f, it's a %ld. So just save that. That get still debugging. Okay, so Control S and then start a new debug. Click that at the top. Something glitched. So there's something wrong with that. So we have our include statement at the top. The main function opens a bracket here, square bracket. So long nc points to 0 while getchar or getchar is not equal to EOF. Plus nc, then printf, %ld, new line, comma nc should be alright. So I'll just debug that again. Oh, that's why. I didn't put any breakpoints, so we'll just put a breakpoint here. Control S again to save it, or save if you're on a different machine, then just click save before you run it. So now we have long NC. NC is already pointing to 0, but we're going to just assert that again. So NC points to 0. So while we're going to enter the while loop now. So while getchar does not equal EOF. So when we step in, it's going to wait for standard input here. So we'll just do 1, 2, hit enter. So we've entered center input, so it should have just taken 1. Okay, so we don't have a C points to getchar, so it's just kind of, this data is floating around and it's not in a variable. So what it really has right now is 1, it's just not showing it to us, because we have 1 and 2. So before we had a variable pointing to getchar to save the data, but at this time we don't have the variable right now pointing to getchar. So right now the 1, 2 is just floating in the memory. It's not saved anywhere. So at this point it has 1. So now it's going to increment NC by 1, so it's going to add 1 to 0, so now it's going to be 1. So now that's done, so it's going to be at 2 now. So while 2 is not equal to EOF, that's true, so step in, then it's going to increment NC it by 1 again, so it's going to go from add 1, so 1 plus 1 is 2. So now we're at new line. So while getchar does not equal EOF, so new line does not equal EOF, so it's going to go to NC, this line again, execute it, plus plus NC, so 2 plus 1 is 3. Now it's going to, the standard input's going to be done, so it's going to wait for standard input again. We'll enter the reverse signal EOF with Control Z. Then now it's going to print out. If we step in, it's going to bring us into the built-in print function. So we'll step out. So you can just step over that. I think you can step in when we have like a printf and like a function call, but there's no function call here. So it prints out NC, which was 3, right there. Okay, so hopefully you guys understand that. So we have a few more. The video is now like 38 minutes, so we'll just, there's a few more. The codes will start to get a little bit more complicated. We'll have some arrays. We're going to do some arrays. Within the next few, in the next video we'll do arrays, and then we'll jump to functions. Character arrays, the code will start getting a page or two, so it'll be some more longer codes. So I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like the video, you can subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.